Now, a thought exercise. I'm curious to see how you would respond to the following scenarios. So, first off, let's just say hypothetically, similar to the thought process that we saw last week. Let's say hypothetically that you are the driver of a train, and that as you are driving, you notice that your brakes have just failed, and you look ahead and you see there are 5 people on the tracks up ahead of the train. There's just nothing you can do to stop it. There's no way you can get off the train or get off the track before the train hits them. But fortunately, the track has a siding leading off to the right, and you can hit a button to direct your train onto that side rail. Unfortunately, there's one person sitting there on the siding. So if you turn that train, you could kill one person, or you could allow the train to continue forward, killing 5 people. So what would you do? Would you turn the train, or would you allow the train to keep going? Now, what would Kant do? And what would utilitarianism do? Remember, utilitarianism considers its purpose is to consider the consequence and to generate the greatest sense of happiness. So in this case, as people are dying in both instances, the utilitarianist would probably turn the train, arguing that the death of one is better than the death of 5. Okay, so let's just change the scenario just a little bit. Now, you are not driving the train, but you are standing on a bridge. And you're on this bridge that is above these train tracks, and you see the train coming down, but you can see that it's out of control, and that train is going to slam into 5 people who are stuck on the track just past this bridge. There's only one thing that you can do to stop that train, and that means, and that one thing to do is to put a heavy weight in its path, which would force the train to come to a quick stop. There's only one thing that you see that could possibly do the job. You see an extremely, extremely fat man. And that fat man is leaning over the bridge, looking down at the tracks below. So it wouldn't take very much for you to run over and lift the man up and just to push him over the side. Now, in doing that, the man will fall to the ground and he will die. But his body there on the ground would do enough to stop the train as it's coming down the tracks. So, do you push the fat man onto the track, or do you allow the train to continue? Now, this case is very similar to the one above, or to the previous one, in that there's an option between 1 person dying and 5 people dying. But the difference here is that you are physically, personally putting the man, you are killing the man. You are putting him on that track. That man is substituting for the other 5. Now, whereas you, so what I want to say is, what would Kant say? Well, Kant would argue that you should never treat people wrongly, that you should treat all people with dignity and respect, and not as an ends, and not as a means to an end. So in this case, for you to push this man onto the track would go against Kantian reasoning. Kant would say that unfortunately those 5 people will die because it is not right for you to push another person onto the track. You would not want that to happen to you. But the utilitarian approach might be a little bit different, as you consider the death of one unhealthy man versus the death of 5. All right, well, let's change this a little bit, and let's see how you would respond to this scenario. This is exactly the same scenario as the last one, except you learn that the man, this extremely fat man who's standing on the bridge, is the one responsible for the failure of the train's brakes. Right, this man was so angry about an increase in train fare that he sabotaged the brakes with the hope of causing an accident. Now again, the only way to stop the train from killing the 5 people would be to push this fat saboteur off the bridge into the path of the train. So would you push this fat saboteur onto the track, killing him, or would you allow the train to continue? Now, this is interesting. How many of you will change the way that you feel about this, given that you know this man is criminal or somewhat responsible for this event? Would it not be then justifiable, as he's the one who caused the event, for him to be the one to suffer the ultimate consequence? Now, what would Kant say? Kant would say, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what this man is guilty of. You'd always treat an individual with dignity and respect, and never as a means to an end. Therefore, Kant would argue that you allow the train to continue and to kill the 5. But this does provide a little bit more leeway for a utilitarianist who would argue that this man is definitely not worth saving. That his death cannot compare to the death of the other 5. All right. So this is just a quick exercise in Kantian and utilitarian reasoning as it deals with death.